He must have. Okay, let's go.
Got the recording.
Tali literally just said, even if Tali Liner's not on.
Yeah, sorry. I tried to go as fast as I could.
35 minutes after 72. I don't know what's with everybody. Okay.
We don't all live across the street from a shul.
Even so.
It takes a few minutes to get home and have Havdalah and clean up.
Clean up? Where's the mess running?
What do you mean? Look, I got this guy right here.
Okay. Anyways. All right. We gave it enough time. Yeah, Zok the Mishna. Pay Zayin Amud Beis. Pay Zayin Amud Beis.
You got to start the recording.
I did.
Oh, I didn't
hear the recording.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Yes,
sorry,
you did.
You did.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Recording. Zok the Mishna. Yeah. So a guy said, and we had this before. We had this Mishnah before. If a husband said, Yedeani, yeah, you see the Mishnah, Pei Zayin Amud Beis. Yedeani sheyesh nedarim. I know that there's such a concept of nedarim. Aval eina yedeya sheyesh mafirin. I didn't know that I have the power to be made for nedarim. Right? So now the question is, meaning he heard about the neder. Let's say the wife made a neder today. The husband heard about it. He said, "Oh, you've made a neder? Woo, very good." Right? And then he goes to shul a few days later. He mentions to the rabbi his wife made a neder, and the rabbi tells him, "By the way, you could have been made for the neder." He says, "Yeah, I didn't notice such a thing." So then he gets that day to be made for the neder, right? Because he's a oinus, right? He didn't know. He heard the neder, but he didn't know that he could have the power to be made for it. So Yafar, he's made for it that day, right? But in the other case, though, Yedeyani, the opposite, Yedeyani sheyesh mafirin, if he knows that there's such a concept of mafirin of any Yedeyah shezeh neder, but I didn't know that what she did was a neder, meaning he knew there was the concept of being made for a neder. He just didn't know that this qualified as a neder. So that's a Machlokes. R Meir, lo Yafar. R Meir says he's not allowed to be made for it, right? Because he knew there's such a thing as hafara, and he knows there's such a thing as a neder, but he didn't think that this was a neder. Okay, so it was his lack of knowledge that this was a neder. So he loses out. He had his opportunity to be made for. He should have been made for. Come say that he could be made for, right? Yeah. So that's so it's a little complicated here. What are we talking about? When would they made for it? Right. So Meir says you can't be made for it after a while. Right? Why? Because since he knew that there's such a concept of afara, but he just didn't know there was another, he's a pesheya. Right? Because I mean, either way, so if he was a neder, and then he could have been made for it, fine. And if it wasn't a neder, then who cares? Meaning, why wasn't the guy made for it? Memanav shav. Right? I mean, the first case, he didn't notice such a concept of made for. Okay, so then he just didn't know. So he's an oinus, he didn't know. Fine, so everybody holds he could be made for it. But in the second case, R Meir is saying you should have been made for it. In Mamanav Shach, if it was a neder, so now you would have nixed it. And if it wasn't a neder, so then what's the problem? Right? So therefore you didn't do it. So you're a pesheya, and you're not able to do it. The Chachamim say Yafer. Right? The Chachamim say you can be made for it. Yeah. Since it wasn't clear to you. Right? It wasn't clear to you, so then you don't, then you have an excuse. Fine. So now the Gemara asks, so now basically what we're saying, before we go to the Gemara, so basically what we're saying is that the R Meir holds that if somebody is a partial pesheya, then that's considered like a total pesheya, and it's his fault. And the Chachamim are saying not like that. It's not necessarily his fault. So the Gemara is going to bring a raya from killing somebody ba'oinus, not ba'oinus, I'm sorry, b'shaygig. That by killing somebody b'shaygig, then it can then maybe it makes a difference. Yeah. The Ramino, Zog the Gemara, or reflecting Gemara, Ramino asks you a kasha, but loy ra'is, right? So it says by galus, by killing somebody, the shoygeg, it says oy b'chol even asher yamos ba b'loy ra'os. A guy killed somebody with a stone. He threw a stone, and he killed somebody without seeing it. And it fell on him, and he died. Right, and he wasn't an oyev, meaning it wasn't premeditated, right? And he was not, he didn't want anything bad. He threw a stone. It happened to have killed the guy, the stone, right? So he did it without seeing. So the Gemara says the loyra ois prat l'suma, that comes to exclude a blind person, meaning so a person that kills beloyra ois without seeing goes to galus, right? So we're saying prat l'suma comes to exclude suma, that a suma doesn't go to galus because he wasn't even in the parsha of seeing, right? The way we're understanding the pasuk is you should have seen, you had the ability to see, you just didn't see, right? Fine. But if your guy is totally blind, so he's a total einus, he doesn't even need to go to galus. Tivir Reb Yehuda, and by the way, the Tana of our Mishna, the Chachamim is Reb Yehuda, right? R Meir, Rabbi says a suma. He says the exact opposite. It's coming to include a suma that a blind guy that throws a rock is also considered a shaygig, and he can go to galus, right? It's mamish. I mean, like every machlokes, it's mamish the opposites. Yeah. So the first sheet of the Reb Yehuda holds that a blind guy is not in the parsha of shoygig because he's not a shoygig, right? And R Meir says that he is included in the shoygig because the bottom line is he threw a rock. He didn't see where the rock was going and he killed somebody. What's the difference, right? So what the Gemara's kasha is here is so you see that they switched their shitas from the Mishnah. R Meir in our Mishnah said that the guy who didn't know that it was a proper neder says he can't be made for the neder because he should have known better, right? So he's not made for it. And the Chachamim say that he is made for it, right? He can't be made for it because he was an einus, right? And here by the blind person, we're saying the opposite. Rabbi Yehuda is saying that no, if it's somebody who totally doesn't know and is a total einus, then they don't go to galus. Yet by nedarim, the guy's an einus, he didn't know the thing was a neder, right? But still, the Chachamim say he could be made for it, right? And R Meir, it's the opposite. So that's the Gemara's kasha. So on Talmud Aleph. So Marova hacham in yonah dekra, b'hacham in yonah dekra. You can't ask us kasha because each one by nedarim and by galus, you have to go with what the pasuk, the inyan of the pasuk is talking about. Hacham in yonah dekra. Here it's going to be dependent on what it says in the pasuk. Hacham in yonah dekra. And here it's going to depend on what it says in the pasuk. Rabbi Yehuda Savar Gabi Reit Seyach Ksiv by somebody who kills, meaning killing. If he comes with his friend into the forest, which means kol davar me'alayar, anybody that goes up into a forest is possible that he can be chayiv galus because he could kill b'shoygeg, right? Meaning that means he's hocking around throwing rocks in the forest, and then it happens to be that there's somebody in the forest that his rock hits him. Right, as opposed to oyev, which is like trapping somebody, premeditated. Right, so if a guy comes into a yar, that includes anything that can go into a yar. So a blind person can go into a forest. The suma nami bar me'el yar, who a suma can go into a forest. Right, so memela that tells you that a suma is included in shoygig if he kills the shoygig. V'yamar b'loy ra'os l'rabis is a suma, and then if you say that the pasuk that says that if the guy killed without seeing is including a suma, miyar, nafkale, that we learned that from miyar. You have two pesukim teaching you the same thing. Miyar tells you that anybody that can walk into a forest could be chayiv galus if he kills b'shoygig. So that includes a suma. And then we're saying beloy ra'os also includes a suma. So why do you need two pesukim to include a suma? Elishma mina beloy ra'os prat la suma. Must be that without seeing is coming to exclude a suma, right? So basically, on a technical point, Rabbi Yehuda, who's the Chachamim in our Mishnah, is saying why the suma is pater from galus again, because the two pesukim that seem to be saying the same thing. Miyar and beloy ra'is. Meir is saying that anybody that can walk into a forest can be chayiv mitzvah b'shoigig if he kills b'shoigig, which means that's a blind person can also walk into a forest. And beloy ra'is, without seeing, also comes to tell you that it includes a summa. So we have two pesukim telling you the same thing. So Elamai must be beloy ra'is is coming to exclude the blind person because the blind person is too big of an einus, right? Meaning a shaygig has to mean that he should have known better because he could see, and he should have looked to make sure before he starts throwing the rock. But a blind guy couldn't look to see who's throwing the rock, so Mamela he's out, and therefore he's not included in the galus. But he's going to say by neder. By neder, we're not going to say like that. By neder, even though he should have known better, but the bottom line is he didn't know, so he's potter. R Meir, meaning he could still be made for the neder. That's where Yehuda says.
Why shouldn't the summa know that you're not supposed to throw rocks? Just stamazoi.
You mean stam? Why should? Yeah, meaning what do they say? People that live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, right? What's that phrase? So I'm saying a blind person should try and chop, like don't be throwing rocks because
that's true. That can still be true, but it doesn't. He doesn't become a suffix that he might kill someone. It's impossible for him to know whether he might kill someone. He should, in general, not throw rocks. Yeah, 100%. It doesn't make him a shaykhs.
Why? So why is a seeing person know that he's going to kill somebody if he goes into a forest and throwing rocks? He's not paying attention. So you're making a kill it now. He puts on a blindfold. Then he can't throw rocks. Then he could throw rocks.
No, take it off.
No, because he had the capability.
The person who can see has no excuse. Look.
And no excuse what? To throw rocks like a wild man, he has no excuse. So Suma has no excuse either.
No. About where he's throwing it, to make sure there's no one there. You're right. It's careless to throw rocks for anyone. That doesn't make you a shaygig for killing someone. It makes you a shaygig for killing someone if you could see that where you threw there are people, then don't throw there. That makes you a shaygig for hariga. But a blind person can't say you should have looked before to make sure there's no one there. True that he shouldn't have thrown in general. No one should throw rocks in general. But you can't tell him he should have looked.
Okay.
But meaning he's not winning the Tzaddik of the Year award, to use our phrase, right? The blind guy is not winning the Tzaddik of the Year award, right? Like, why are you throwing rocks? But Lamaisa, he's not in the parsha of knowing enough to meaning all guys that go to galus are somebody that, hey, you should have been more careful and you should have known, and you're totally irresponsible, so you go to galus. The blind guy is not, he wasn't in the parsha of even knowing. Yes, he shouldn't have done it, but he wasn't in the parsha of knowing.
That's why the case is yar, because there's not necessarily somebody there. But if he took the blind guy to Times Square and he started throwing rocks, so then he would be, or Itzayach, or whatever he would be.
He's a Ritzayach.
I mean, a yar is because there's not necessarily people there. That's what the case is yar. That's what the pasuk or the Gemara says yar. A blind guy going to Times Square. Did you know this? Here, I'm putting you in time. It's time. You're in Times Square now. You're not in the Grand Canyon. You're in Times Square. So he shouldn't throw rocks because he knows there's people there. Is that the reason why it's not? That's why Yar is part. He's part in the
Sugi and Marcus, though. Whether it's Karev Lemezit, they might not even be close to that anyway.
So happens. I was talking.
You're right.
Was learning Marcus. He was talking about this. Then all of a sudden I started the Gemara. I called them in to say we're learning.
No, but if it's Karev Lemezit, there's no galus. He might be a Karev Lemezit, but you can't call him a shaygig. In any case, that is a shaygig. He's not, because he couldn't have seen anything.
Okay.
Yeah. These are like everything else. It's very technical. Who is zeicher to go to galus? Who's not zeicher to go to galus? Right. This guy might end up. What might end up happening to this guy is somebody might throw a rock at him and end up killing him by mistake. Right. When does it say it? When does it say that in Marcus?
The guy's by the hotel. The guy's by the hotel climbing up the ladder. Yeah.
Right. Or somebody falls on him or this and that. Right. So galus is both an einish and a kapara.
It's famous
Rashi. Rabbi
was telling me
Zakai.
that.
Right.
He was telling me that walking to Mincha, it's very technical, the guy, how he held the hammer, the axe, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
They just went to Abu Sabanim, so.
The grandfather wasn't invited?
They invited me, but I'm here. No.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So that's Rabbi Yehuda's way of looking at it. R Meir Savar Ksiv Bivli Das. Yeah. We have a lot of in common with Bivli Das, no? At least me. Yeah. So it says Bivli Das, right? That he killed without knowledge, meaning he didn't know he was killing. Kol Davar Meida. That talks about anybody who had any sort of knowledge of what he was doing. Summa la bar meidahu, but a summa doesn't know, right? What the Ran says doesn't mean he doesn't know, because he can't know exactly where the guy that he killed was standing, right? The amrid beloy ra'is prat l'summa, and if you say beloy ra'is comes to exclude summa, mibli das nafkalei, that you know from mibli das. So again, the same thing. You have two that are teaching you, two diukim in the pesukim that teach you that the summa's potter. So must teach us that beloy ra'is is coming to include a summa, right? Yes, which is what's this called? Double negative is a positive, right? That's what this is, right? Two negatives, meaning two pesukim are telling you. Correct, right. So that's essentially there's two negatives telling you, two pesukim are telling you that you're potter, comes along the, what's it called, and says that you're chayiv, comes along. So the mela must be that it's telling us that a summa is chayiv. Fine. Okay. So that's why you can't compare, bottom line is you cannot compare summa, the shoygeg of summa, to the shoygeg of nedarim that the guy didn't know was a neder. Fine. Zok the Mishna. Yeah. So somebody makes a neder that he is not giving his son-in-law any hana. Can anybody imagine doing this? Yeah. So Amad, not now, Rabbaran, but after you
don't we have a set on the share? Is Evie on? Daf is finished. It's dinner.
Yeah. So Hamad hana mechasnoi, somebody who makes a neder of hana from his son-in-law. Problem is the guy didn't realize that he has a daughter that he needs to take care of. Right? So what's he going to do now?
I'm convinced my Shmuel did that and they're not putting it in the book. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Byron, I think that would be a very good chapter. People would enjoy that, no?
Hey Ron, you can make it into the forward. There's still time.
By the way, Aaron, there's always a rebuttal to books. You know what I'm saying? You could
Benny Munchik asked me the other day, he said, Aaron, I want your version. I don't care what Oscar's version is. I want your version.
Yeah.
Aaron, like the dinner when that
the son-in-law speaks, the underground tapes.
Right. What do you say, Parents?
When the Gavir decides he wakes up, he needs to put in, even though they already have the deadline by the journal, and somehow there's another pamphlet.
Right, the supplement.
Yeah. Anyways, okay. So Amadar Mechasna, he made a neder. He's not giving a note to his son-in-law, but who writes to Lasses Lapita Mars? But he wants to give his daughter money.
What?
Problem is that we know the rule is Masha Konta Isha Konta Baila. Whatever the wife is kaina, so the husband's kaina, right? So how are you going to give it to the daughter? So I'm Allah. So this is what he has to do. He has to give two stipulations in order for it to work. So I'm Allah. This money is given to you as a present. But on the condition that your husband doesn't have any rights to it. Ella masha'at noises v'noisenes befich. Right? Only what you take and put, and well, it's an interesting lashon here. Noises v'noisenes usually is meant for business, right? But it means that she takes it, lifts it up, and puts it into her mouth. Meaning, he needs to take two stipulations. One, the money's going to her, not the husband. When is it going to be hers? When she puts it into her mouth, right? So, because the problem is that when a present is when a woman gets a present, so then it goes out what's it called? What do you call that thing? Nichse milug. Out nichse milug, the husband gets to use does the present, he gets to use it, and then eventually will go back to the wife if they get divorced or if he dies. Right? So basically, but he has to do two things. The husband doesn't have any rights to it, and the money doesn't become the daughter's until she puts it into her mouth. Shulchan Aruch also says, I don't know what the Shulchan Aruch knew more from the Gemara. The Shulchan Aruch says, or if she wears it. Meaning, so it means like over the years, I guess, they realize that the woman might just take the money that her father gave to eat and buy clothing with it. Could be. I mean, that's the way I'm understanding Pshat in the Shulchan Aruch. Now, Shulchan Aruch adds that it means for clothing too. Meaning when she uses, doesn't mean she has to eat it. It means that it's not going to become hers only when she gets a physical hana from it, be it food, be it clothing. Right? Okay, so we're going to see in the Gemara why exactly you need both. Why you need both? Why can't she just give it to the daughter, almanas, that it doesn't go to the husband? Right? So that we'll have to see. Yeah? But anyway, so that's what it is. So the way for the father-in-law to get the daughter-in-law money is with two tanayim. One, he cannot have it. It doesn't go to him. And two, is it's not becoming hers only once she benefits from it physically benefits from it.
Why is this worse than the loophole of putting it on a rock? Why can't he give it to her? He's giving it to his daughter. So he happens to get it from his son-in-law, happens to get it because his daughter got it. But he's not giving it to his son-in-law. He's giving it to his daughter. When he makes it hefker and puts it on a rock, he's the only other person there is the third guy. Why is it any different?
What do you mean? Because he gets ownership of it.
Right. And when the guy puts it on a rock and makes it hefker, we all know exactly where it's going. Going to the other guy's traveling.
Understand. What?
Earlier in the Masechta, when he puts it on a rock, he's traveling with another person. So he puts it on a rock, makes it hefker.
Right.
That's also not real. Of course, it's going to the other guy.
I mean, why couldn't you do it for that?
Yeah, so give it to her. It's going to him. So what? It's the same. Consider her a rock. So he's putting it on a rock, and the husband's taking it. What do we care that the son-in-law ends up getting? If he's not giving it to the son-in-law, that was the neder.
But he is. No, because it's an instant transfer. It's an instant transfer. The second it goes to the wife, it goes to the husband. She's part of him. No?
It's worse than get to the other boinke achad. I
don't know. I haven't learned Gittin in who knows how many years. So you have to wait for me to get to Gittin, and then I'll forget this. And then, it comes at the same, the way I understood it, it comes at when the Isha's kaina, it's automatically given to her husband. Okay, I don't know. So let's see the Gemara. So Amar Rab, only what you. Okay, it's only when she's when she puts it into her mouth. Aval Amar Masha Tirtzi Asi. But if he would just tell his daughter, here's the money, on condition your husband doesn't get it, but do whatever you want with the money, kana yashain baal, then the husband is kainet, and therefore the father is giving it to the father-in-law is giving it to the son-in-law. Right? Because why? It's a regular matana that she could do whatever she wants with that matana, and memela, it goes to him. Right? It's similar. It's a similar scenario that comes up is what they say with do you have to take meiser off of a gift or money that in-laws give you or parents, right? Parents sometimes give the kids Hanukkah geld, this and that. So what the price can say is it depends what the parents are giving you, or anybody, it doesn't have to be parents. Meaning if I go and give my daughter money to buy a new car. So the price can say, since essentially I gave them a car, not money, they just went to buy it, they don't have to take off meiser because it's not considered a cash. It was never considered like I gave them cash to do whatever they want. If I would give them cash and say, by the way, do whatever you want with it. I would suggest, typical father sticking his nose into the business. I would suggest you buy a car with it. Then they would have to take off Maisa because you gave them money, and now it's their money to spend, right? Yeah, that's what they say the difference is by Maisa, right? So Memela here too. If the husband just says, here's spending money, then it automatically goes to the husband. But if he says, no, this money only becomes yours once you put it into your mouth, then that was not a matana to her. He's feeding her, right? That does not go to the husband. That's the way I understand. That's what Rav says. Shmuel Omer, afilu amar ma shatirtzi asi loy kone yasoin bal. Shmuel disagrees. He says you don't need both. You don't need both. Even if he just gives the money and says do whatever you want, the husband does not coin it. Right? So he holds you don't need. Essentially, he holds you don't need both tanoim. Fine. So Maskal Reb Zeira has the kasha. Right? Antama Beis now, yeah. So Maskal Reb Zeira. Kiman Ozla Hashmaitza. Who does this Shmaitza go like? I'm sorry. Kiman Ozla Hashmaitza the Rav. Who does this Gemara go to that Rav said? Right, Ki R Meir. It goes like R Meir, the Amar Yad Isha Ki Yad Baila, that the hand of the Isha is like the hand of the Baal. Right? Meaning Rav, who said that you need to have both tanaim. Father-in-law has to give two tanaim. One, that the husband doesn't get it, and two, she only gets it once she puts it into her mouth. So who's that like? Ki R Meir, the Amar Yad Isha Ki Yad Baila, the woman's hand is like the husband's hand, which maybe answers your question, Gersh, right? Her hand, but like we said the previous in Thursday or Friday's daf, her hand belongs to her husband, right? But that was really for Maisa Yodel, but this is for receiving, right? So Uramina will ask you, Stira, Ketzad Mishtatim B'Mavui, how do you do Shtupe Mevuos? And Shtupe Mevuos is like in Farakoi, the Mashal, everybody has to give. Well, in Farakoi, it's Eruv Chatzeris, but Shtufe Mevuos, whatever. It's essentially the same thing. Basically, in order to make an Eruv, everybody has to be able to share. That's what Eruv means, a mixture. So you can't really. What you do is you go to every house and collect a piece of challah from each and every house, or a matzah from each and every house, and make a huge pile of matzah somewhere in town, and then everybody is considered included in the Eruv. But we don't do that. So what do? One person is kind of, let's say, a box of matzahs for the entire Eruv. Let's say in our case, it's Farakoi Lawrence. One person is kind of the entire box of matzahs on behalf of everybody. And now that entire town owns that matzah. And the reason I like to do it is Zachan Lodem Shloi B'Farav. People don't, there's no loss for people, unless the anti-Eruv people are about, right? Those like, we're not going down that road, but the anti ones that don't want to be in part of that. But let's assume that there are those that don't use Eruv, but they're not going to be anti. Shine. So they're kind of these matzahs on behalf of everybody. And then they go and give it back to the rabbi. And that's as if everybody shared it. Ours happens to be in the Aguda, if anybody's interested in going ripping off that matzah. And it's in last I checked, it was in the Aguda, but I didn't check, whatever. So anyway, it's a whole machlokes. Should it be kept in a shul? Should it be kept in a private house? Okay, whatever it is. But that's the way you do it. So the question is, the rabbi who's doing this for the community, can he do this with his wife? Can he do this with his wife or with his kid? Or his Eved? Right? Meaning he gives them, why should he go have to find somebody else? Let him just give it to his wife on behalf of everybody. And then his wife is koined on behalf of everybody, and then she gives it back to him, and that's it. Very good. Problem is if he gives it to his wife and she's koined, it goes right back to him, so you can't do it. Right? If you hold that the wife's hand is exactly like the husband, how can you do it with the wife? Right? That means the husband, he just gave it right back to himself. Right? So that's the shayla. So Ketzam Mishtad Mumavim. Maniach is a chavis for Omer. Here he's talking about a barrel. Here he's doing with a wine, right? But it could be with any food. Harezeh l'chol b'nei mavui. He says this barrel of wine belongs to everybody in the streets. Umezaka lehen al yidei avdai, and then he's mezaka it through his servant, his shivcha ha'ivrim, Jewish ones. And he has a kid or a girl, kids that are over bar bas mitzvah. since they have das, they could be koined on behalf of other people too. By day ishta, he can even do it through his wife. But if you say that whatever the isha's kaina, the husband's kaina, Eruv loy nafik made a shusay debal, right? The Eruv does not go out of the rishus of the husband because again she's kainit, but it's whatever she's kainit goes instantly to the husband. So how could you use the wife, right? According to the way our Rav is understanding our Mishnah, how could it go to the wife? The wife, it goes right back to the husband, right? So the Gemara answers, Amar Rav, and that's not a kasha. Even the R Meir said that the hand of the wife is like the hand of the husband. The R Meir linin shitov. R Meir's maida linin shitov, meaning shtufei mavui, is to do this mavui eruv thing to kivan de l'schus la'acherem hu. Actually, de l'zakos la'acherem hu. Since she's doing it in order that it should work for everybody else. Miyad baila zachya, she is zeichet from her husband, right? Meaning normally R Meir holds that whatever she's kaina goes straight to her husband, but here since she's being kained on behalf of everybody else, so Mamela, once everybody else is being kained with her holding it, she's also kained independent of her husband, right? Meaning she's sort of being grandfathered in from everybody else. When she picks up this matzah, so 99% of the matzah is going to belong to everybody else in town. A fraction of a percent is going to belong to her. We said, it can't work because that goes straight to her husband. So we're saying, no, since she's being kind on behalf of everybody else, so her piece goes along with it, and she gets to keep the matzah, and then when she gives it back to her husband, everything works out. Right? So that's the way Rav is mitaretz. So when I ask, Ravina Rav Ashi, so Ravina asked the kasha Rav Ashi, Elu shezachin lehen, right? It's a similar case, same case. These are the ones that you could also be zeicher for them. How you day b'noy ubita hagedailim, your children that are over barabas mitzvah avda v'shechazeh ibrim, ve'elu she'ein zachin, but these are the ones that you can't be zeicher. How you day b'noy ubita hagetanim, you can't use kids under barabas mitzvah v'avda v'shechazeh kananim. And you can't use an evidence of shikha that are goyim ve'ishtoi, and you can't use his wife, right? So now this brisa says that the wife does not work, which fits with R Meir, but it's a stira, right? We have a stira, right? One brisa says the wife you could do this eruv kinyan with, and one brisa says you can't. So what's a pshat? So Elam Rav Ashi masnisin, right? The Mishnah about, which is also confusing, because not our Mishnah with the son-in-law and the father-in-law. The Mishnah with the Eruv that it works, it's talking about where she owns her own chatzar, right? Meaning somehow she got a chatzar where the husband was Michael. If the husband was Michael, then it can go, then the wife, let's say the wife yarshins a field, and the husband says, I'm Michael. Keep it yourself. Right, the migut the zachila nafsha zachila achrini. Since she needs to, since now she owns fields, she owns her own private property in this eruv. So since she has to be koined for herself because she owns her own property, so memela she has to be koined for. She's going to be able to be koined for everybody else, right? So, but in a case where she does not own her own field and a chanami, she cannot be zoichenet, right? So that's the difference. Yeah. So basically what it's saying is that if she's being koined for herself and she owns her own things, so memela, she owns her own karka. So once she's koined for herself, she's koined for everybody else. But if she didn't own land, then enochanami, you cannot do it with your wife, because your wife, when she's being koined, it goes directly to you and it doesn't work. Right? Okay, so now one practical example of this, and actually last week when I started learning the stuff, somebody asked it. The minig is, though, that for some reason, you're supposed to tear kriya by the kaisel, right? Unfortunately, people try and finagle out of it. I don't understand why. You know what I'm saying? You go to Eretz Yisrael, you spend all that money, sacrifice a little epis for the churban, right? To keep the halacha of the churban. People try and get out of it. It seems like the minig is that women don't do it. Why? I have no idea. But it seems like when maybe it's because it's a hefsid meruba, I don't know, or it's embarrassing for them to walk around with a torn shirt, berabim like that. I don't know what the reasons are. I haven't seen any reasons. But when people ask me, so what I do is tell them, okay, sell the shirt to somebody else. Like this, you're fine. I mean, you don't have to tear somebody else's shirt. You only tear your own shirt, right? So tear. So let's sell the jacket, or well, the jacket you don't need to tear, but tear the shirt. Sell the shirt to somebody else. So then they always ask, okay, can the husband, right? Can the husband buy the shirt from the wife, right? So yeah, he could buy the shirt from the wife, but the problem is it's not. What does that do? The shirt the whole time belonged to the husband, no? Right? So that l'chara doesn't work. Doesn't he have to go sell it to somebody else? That's A. B. Can she even sell the shirt? It's not her shirt, right? I mean, this is what you want to tell people. They're going for the Eretz Yisrael. Say, by the way, your shirt you don't own, so you can't sell it.
Yeah, so the husband has to go to another guy next to him by the place and see that lady in the blue tichel? You want to buy her shirt?
You say, hey, are you from the Women of the Wall? Which one are you from? Anyways, whose side you are? So, okay, I don't know. It's not, I mean, whatever. I don't understand how no. So the question is the opposite. Can a husband, let's say he doesn't have a shirt, he only has a good shirt, right? Can he sell his shirt to his wife? L'chayr or not? I mean, I don't know. So that's what I'm not sure. Based on this Gemara, can he sell his shirt to his wife? He buys her shirt, she buys his shirt, and everybody goes home happily ever after. L'chayr or not? Right? How could you be, unless you say that the shirt, she also owns other shirts that he says I don't have rights to, and then maybe according to Maskonas Gemara, just like she owns her own karka, she could be kind on for herself and then for everybody else. So maybe he tells her, okay, the shirts in the house I'm giving to you, they're yours, and that's it. And Mamela, once she has it.
Wait,
right?
but what? Her shirts are his? Why isn't it Baal Shanas Matana Leishla? Then Yeshla Yad, even according to R Meir, Yeshla Yad. Baal Shanas Matana. That's the Ram here.
Oh, so that's right. So now the question is, if the husband gives a matana straight, right? So then
that would be the shirt. No,
what?
Her clothing. Her clothing.
Well, it can't be a kinyan. He has to do it as a matana.
No, but originally it would be matana to her when she bought it.
Well, I don't know how that works. Is that the way it works every time a woman goes clothing shopping? It's a matana from the husband.
I mean, everything the wife buys, even the stuff in the pantry.
Is that a matana?
It's also matana to his wife. It all belongs to her.
I don't know. I have this question also when it comes to buying clothing covered young, right? So it says the husband, the covered young, supposed to buy his wife clothing, right? Does that apply nowadays when women buy their own clothing? Right? Saying they buy their own clothing, but does every husband go? I'm saying most of the time, most of the time, a woman's going to buy her own clothing, right? Yeah, so obviously there's a special feeling if the husband buys the woman clothing. But like Rabban, you're talking about going to a guy by the cousin, say you want to buy my wife to a woman's clothing store and buying clothing for your wife nowadays. Also,
I think the shot is it means you give her a bigger budget, no?
It doesn't sound like that from Shulchan Aruch, but who gives the wife any budget? Nobody has to answer that question, right? If anything, the wife gives the husband a budget. But okay, but it's right. I would say, who gives the wife a budget? So does that apply anymore nowadays? They make themselves happy with what they buy, right?
Well, the mitzvah is simchas yomtiv. As long as she gets simcha, then she's yaitze. It's not. It used to be the husband's budget, so mamela he has to buy it. But today it's not negayah. Still the same mitzvah. The mitzvah is simchas yomtiv for the wife.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if that's okay. I don't know. Is that called the husband buying it though?
No, it doesn't need to. He only needed to when he owned the money.
In the Shulchan it's not mashma. It's mashma. The husband has to buy the candy for the kids, and he's supposed to buy the clothing for the wife.
All of it because he owned all the money.
Practically the way it was back then. or do you say specifically that it's not like that? So that's the higufa. That's the shayla. That is the shayla. Anyways, all right, we'll stop over here. Everybody should have themselves a good vach, a good year.
Right, good luck.
Maybe you can make the Avos Abanim store about it. Yeah. To make the pizza or whatever, the prizes, maybe.
My daughter's my daughter's making me mac and cheese. It's better than pizza.
Okay, there you go.
Daughter's mac and cheese is better than pizza.
Okay, but okay, I guess it's both free. Don't ask her in the nether. Yeah. Anyways, all right.
I thought you
were going to say that the book is Takanana gave to me because it said afterwards that the Shver gave money to the daughter.
No, I'm not getting involved.
Well,
Well, now